So could you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create the DIY toolkit, and what were the criteria that you used in completing it?
Sure, sure. I guess the inspiration for DIY came from a conversation that we started about 3 or 4 years ago with the Rockefeller Foundation, who themselves have been big supporters of innovation around the world, particularly in the sort of development context. We saw big and growing demand in international development for proven innovation tools and methods. People were looking for some support and guidance about where to start. And so we were trying to, I guess, bridge the gap between the worlds of innovation and the world of development as part of our overall mission for demystifying innovation. We knew that there was a lot of material out there. So in fact, the job wasn't so much to create tools and methods, but actually to try and help people navigate these. The vast number of them was quite overwhelming, and actually for busy people, they didn't have the time to actually go through and do the due diligence on what was good, what was bad, and where to start. So effectively our value add was to try and kind of bring some, make some sense of that crowded space and to kind of curate what we thought was a best of breed collection. So starting with around 700 tools that we found on our first scan, we researched and evaluated and then tested the best tools that we could find. We assessed each tool on its practicality, on its ease of use, on how visually engaging it was, evidence of impact, things like Net Promoter Score, so would people actually promote this, the use of this tool to their colleagues. And then we co-designed a first prototype and tested that with development professionals in India and then subsequently to about 17 countries to be sure that the innovation approaches and the language that we use actually translated into development situations.
That's great. So you actually tried to use a kind of social innovation approach as you were pulling all these things together. What are the core building blocks for DIY's approach to innovation?
So I guess, our high-level message is our approach to innovation is that everyone has the ability to innovate. We just need to make it tangible and accessible. So when we looked at these tools, we started by organizing them along the sort of innovation journey. One of Nesta's organizing frameworks we use is the innovation spiral you can see on the slides, which is just one representation of many for describing the kind of journey you might go on from exploring different opportunities or particular challenges you might be facing to creating ideas or potential responses to that challenge, developing and testing your ideas, and then building the case for actually making it real in the world, implementing that, growing and scaling it, and ultimately leading to system change. So we took the tools that we found and we sort of matched them against this innovation spiral. However, when we spoke to the people that we intended to use the toolkit, we realized that they don't necessarily self-identify as innovators and aren't necessarily looking for a beginning-to-end process to walk through, and so this structure didn't really sort of resonate for them. So we actually carved up our innovation process into more sort of typical activity requirements that development professionals often seek support with, and we mapped those tools, the tools against those needs. So rather than following a prescriptive process or methodology, the innovation tools that we put in the toolkit basically then become more relevant at people's moment of need.
So in a sense, you're really basically trying to create a platform that gives people total ultimate control over how they kind of mix and match the tools and bring things together for their own particular challenges.
Yeah, if you think about the toolkit you might have in your garage, it doesn't necessarily come with an 80-page instruction sheet because you don't yet know what you're going to build. So actually what you need is you need a screwdriver in some sense of in what situations a screwdriver might be handy.
Great. And for folks who haven't actually gone in and played around with the toolkit, how have you organized the information, and would you have any advice for somebody coming at this for the first time?
Sure. I mean, I'd like to say, and with the help of the design team that we worked with, it's fairly intuitive. So have a play would be my first advice. But just to sort of talk it through, the tools and the related content are structured by areas of need, or indeed jobs to be done. You can see this on the slide in front of you. So hopefully users can kind of locate themselves in the toolkit by recognizing their area of need. What are you actually trying to do at each particular moment? And then under each of those needs statement, it leads to a very specific tool, very much like a decision tree. We've provided a suggested tool to support with individual activity requirements. So for instance, I want to develop a clear plan on how to grow my idea, would lead you to the business model canvas. Each tool then has a short animated tutorial to introduce how and why the tool is useful with an applied case study. And there are free PDF downloads on each of those pages. You can download it from between A1 and A4 size, so for use in workshops, individual working, or in team situations.